And looking back at the people that I was raising the money from, one of which was my father, he had to take a mortgage out on our childhood home to finish his investment in this deal, which I didn't know that until 5 years later. Super, super stressful situation. Got the property actually built. And once we got the thing open, it started going really well. Looking back, I didn't get enough advice from people who had done that before. I was arrogant. I was, excited. I thought the world was simple and I thought I knew everything. So I didn't get advice from real estate private equity folks. I didn't get any advice from self-storage people. I invented my own little structure. Me and Dan did a ton of research to try to figure out where to build a self-storage facility. We found a site in upstate New York. We were about to break ground, but we needed $500,000 of outside investment. And yeah, my dad worked for a developer. My mom was a school nurse. Our entire county, Perry County, Indiana, is 8,000 people, and it's poverty in a lot of areas of our county. And there's no country club in the county, and I had to scrounge to find that money. And it was me abusing my father's network. Hey, Dad, who do you know that I can go sit at their table and go ask them for cash? So it was all my dad's friends. With 3 hours around, from Indianapolis to Louisville to Evansville, I was driving around, sitting at tables, trying to raise the money for that first deal. 100 visits later, I finally found 4 people that actually had the cash, including talking the realtor who sold us the property to build our first building in upstate New York, talking him into stroking a $125,000 check, which was the last bit of money we needed. We had already broke ground. Talking him into stroking that last bit of money into the deal so we could actually get it finished.
And so then you start construction, you're estimating 1.9, and as we all know, in general, 50% over budget. You weren't quite 50%, but you're $500,000 over budget. So now you have to go back to these people who you worked your ass off for 1.5 years to get your original money, your original $500,000. Now you basically have to go back for a second $500,000. What did that look like for you?
Yeah, I said I had to have I remember the conference call that I had, because everybody was spread out. We had a couple investors in Southern Indiana, one in St. Louis, one in Indianapolis. And I had a conference call and said, hey, this is not going well. Like, I'll be frank. It's my fault. I have no idea what I'm doing. Our $1.9 million budget is out the window. We're going to spend $2.4 million to get this thing built. And I had to go back for them all and ask them for another 40% of what they had originally invested, which is a massive chunk of money, an uncomfortable amount looking back at the people that I was raising the money from, one of which was my father. He had to take a mortgage out on our childhood home to finish his investment in this deal, which I didn't know that until 5 years later. Super, super stressful situation. Got the property actually built, got it open. And then our operational chops, like I was talking about, our ability to operate a company took over. And once we got the thing open, it started going really well. We started leasing a lot of units, started growing. It became cash flow positive 1.5 years after we opened it. Then we bought the property across the street to finish out the deal for another $500,000. So we're all in for $2.9 million on that deal. And we just started to fill it up slowly. 30% occupancy, 40% occupancy, 50% occupancy, 55% occupancy. Then in the summer of 2019, we went back to the bank and said, this thing is printing cash. We want to do a refinance. We think it's worth about $5 million. So sure enough, we got it appraised. It was generating about $400,000 of net operating income per year, which is a lot. We're covering the debt service. We're spitting off a lot of cash to our investors. The property at this point we know is already going to be a success. Go back to the bank and say, hey, we need to get this thing reappraised. We want to put some longer term debt on it, and we want to just sit on it. Get it reappraised, $5.2 million, pull out $3.2 million of straight cash. So all the investors get all their initial investment back. Me and Dan get a big chunk of cash as well. And the rest is history. We used that cash from the refinance to buy a couple more properties and continue to grow from there.
Before you go, we have a new sponsor of the show, recostseg.com. And if you bought a piece of real estate, you need to get a cost segregation study done. It's what allows you to get all that sweet, sweet bonus depreciation, and it's how real estate investors like me and many others pay almost nothing in taxes on an annual basis. You can cost seg a single-family rental, a short-term rental, or a large commercial property. recostseg.com is affordable and aggressive and super fast to turn them around. They've done 10-plus cost segs for me this year. They're going to do many more for me. Visit recostseg.com to learn more.